some of the worst butter brands in the UK are the ones already in your fridge. What's sold as butter is often mixed with cheap oils, shrunk without notice, or wrapped in packaging that hides the truth. It looks safe. It isn't. This isn't about taste, it's about trust. And why many UK butter brands no longer deserve it. Waitrose built its reputation on one promise: safety. Not luxury, not hype. Safety you didn't have to question. When people picked up Waitrose Essential Butter, they weren't looking for flavor upgrades or clever marketing. They were buying the most basic product in the store because it was supposed to be the safest version of it. Plain butter, minimal handling, zero surprises. That's what made this brand different. Then, April 2024 happened. Customers started finding blue cloth fibers inside their salted butter. Not on the wrapper, inside the butter itself. Then came reports of small plastic fragments mixed in with the product. The Food Standards Agency had to step in and issue an urgent warning. Do not eat this butter. Full stop. Think about that for a second. Butter is one of the simplest products any supermarket sells. It's just cream, churned in a controlled space, sealed, and shipped. There's no complex recipe, no long list of ingredients, no fragile supply chain. When foreign objects end up sealed inside something that basic, it means the controls failed at multiple levels. Cleaning clothes and factory debris don't just accidentally fall into butter. They get there because someone wasn't watching, and the systems meant to catch those mistakes didn't work. This wasn't a packaging error or a labeling mix-up. This was contamination that should have been stopped long before the product left the factory. Waitrose pulled the items quickly. They issued statements, offered refunds, did all the things you'd expect. But here's the thing about trust. It doesn't come back just because you apologize. When people buy butter, they don't inspect it for fabric or plastic. They shouldn't have to. The idea that they might need to change how safe the product feels, even after it's gone from the shelves. What made this really sting was the brand involved. Waitrose spent years convincing people they were worth the extra cost. That premium price was supposed to guarantee premium safety. This incident proved that assumption wrong. No brand is untouchable, and no amount of reputation can replace proper quality control. Contamination is scary, but what about brands that aren't even real butter to begin with? The next one has fooled shoppers for decades with just a clever name. Utterly Butterly sounds close enough to butter that most people never check what it actually is. The spread has spent decades sitting right next to real butter on supermarket shelves, and most shoppers never stop to question what's actually inside. It's placed right next to real butter, priced like real butter, and packaged to blend in with it. Nothing on the front clearly says this isn't dairy. But here's the truth. Utterly Butterly barely contains any real butter at all. What you're spreading is mostly vegetable oil, water, and additives designed to copy the look and feel of dairy. It's built on vegetable oils, palm oil being a big one, along with water, colorings, and stabilizers. The yellow color, not from the cream. The smooth texture, engineered in a lab, not churned in a dairy. They used to call products like this margarine. That word carried baggage though. It sounded cheap, artificial. So the industry got smarter. They started calling them spreads or butter alternatives, words that feel softer and less threatening. Utterly Butterly doesn't market itself as margarine anymore. It markets itself as something comfortable and familiar, something you can put on toast without thinking twice. And because it looks, spreads, and even melts like butter, most people assume it's close enough. But it isn't. The real problem shows up at the till. Utterly Butterly is often priced close to real butter, despite being far cheaper to make. You're paying butter money for an imitation built on oils. The value isn't in what's inside the tub. It's in the fact that you don't notice the difference. And here's another detail worth knowing. Utterly Butterly is owned by Saputo, a massive Canadian food corporation. Despite the British look, the money doesn't stay in Britain. Utterly Butterly is owned by Saputo, a Canadian multinational focused on scale and margins, not local food quality. Over time, this kind of product has changed what people think butter even is. A whole generation grew up spreading this on their toast, learning to accept it as normal. The line between real and imitation got so blurred that most people stopped checking. Utterly Butterly isn't selling food quality. It's a selling habit, and charging you for not noticing the difference. At least that one's obviously fake if you check. But what happens when a luxury brand quietly changes its recipe while keeping the premium price? Most shoppers still haven't noticed. Lurpak Spreadable sells itself as an upgrade, but the upgrade is visual, not nutritional. The silver wrapper signals premium, while the ingredient list tells a cheaper story. For years that image worked. People saw Lurpak as a premium choice, something European and carefully made. Putting it on your table meant you cared about quality. But here's what a lot of those buyers don't realize. Lurpak Spreadable isn't pure butter. Lurpak Spreadable is only around 2/3 butter. The rest is repressed oil and water, added to cut costs and keep it soft. Now there's nothing wrong with making butter easier to use. The problem is that Lurpak never changed its messaging. It still positions itself as a luxury product. The packaging still leans on images of clean Nordic farmland and careful production. The price still sits in the premium range, but the formula changed, quietly, without making a big deal about it on the front of the pack. During the cost of living crisis, this became harder to justify. Butter prices shot up. Some supermarkets started putting security tags on their butter because theft became so common. A basic grocery item started getting treated like something valuable enough to steal. At the same time, Lurpak reduced the size of its blocks from 250 grams down to 200 grams. Same packaging, same shelf space, often the same price. That's a double hit. Less butter by weight and less butter in the butter. Yet the silver wrapper keeps doing its job. It still looks premium. It still feels like a treat. And because Lurpak built such a strong reputation over the years, most people trust it without reading the label. This is how luxury branding works in the food industry. The image protects the product, even when the substance inside doesn't match the promise on the outside. Lurpak Spreadable isn't the worst thing you could buy, but it's one of the clearest examples of how a brand can use its reputation to sell you something cheaper than you think you're getting. Premium pricing is one thing, but what if a brand promised to make you healthier? The next one convinced millions to ditch real butter. Decades later, heart disease hasn't budged. Premium pricing with cheaper ingredients. Sound familiar? Well, imagine a brand that went further, convincing entire generations their spread was healthier than real butter. Spoiler, it wasn't. Flora wasn't just a spread, it was a long-running health claim. For decades, this brand told British households that butter was the enemy. Dairy fat would clog your arteries. Spreads made from vegetable oils were the modern, responsible choice. Flora marketed itself as heart-healthy, science-backed, and forward-thinking. That message stuck. Entire generations switched from butter to Flora, thinking they were making the smarter decision. Kitchens changed. Habits shifted. Flora became the default. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Despite decades of people switching to Flora, heart disease rates in the UK never showed the promised decline. People changed what they ate. The outcome didn't change. The promise was loud. The results never matched. What makes Flora one of the worst brands isn't just the health claims that didn't deliver. It's how unstable the product has been behind the scenes. Flora has been reformulated over and over again. One year it's vegan, the next it's not. Palm oil gets removed after public pressure, then quietly slips back in when fewer people are paying attention. Ingredients change, formulas shift. The branding stays cheerful and green, but what you're actually eating keeps moving. That's a serious problem. For people with allergies or dietary restrictions, these changes aren't just annoying, they're dangerous. When milk-derived ingredients appear or disappear without clear warnings on the front of the pack, trust breaks down completely. Flora also leaned hard into environmental messaging. Plant-based, sustainable, better for the planet. However, campaigners questioned the veracity of those promises, particularly when contentious additives like palm oil kept coming and going from the recipe. The branding stayed clean and optimistic. The decisions behind it stayed messy. Here's the deeper issue. A food product doesn't need to be perfect, but it does need to know what it is. Flora has tried to be a health product, a vegan staple, an eco-friendly option, and a butter replacement all at once. It shifted identities based on what sold best at the time without ever fully committing to any of them. each version asked for your trust. None earned it for long. Flora isn't pretending to be butter anymore, but it still sits in the same place, influencing how people think about fat, food, and health. When a brand can't settle on its own purpose, the responsibility falls back on you to figure out what you're really buying. A product that keeps changing its story shouldn't be the one guiding your idea of healthy eating. Misleading health claims hurt, but wrapping yourself in the Union Jack while your profits leave Britain? That stings differently. And what's inside barely qualifies as dairy. Country Life built its reputation on pride. Rolling green fields, Union Jack logos, and slogans that hinted at wholesome British tradition made it feel like more than just butter. On the surface, it promised simple dairy goodness, a taste of home with every slice. The reality of the spreadable line is different. Only about half of it is real butter. The rest is mostly oil and water, engineered for smoothness and easy spreading. The product behaves like butter on the knife, but the ingredients tell another story. Customers often pay premium prices, believing they are supporting a traditional British product, when the value is largely in the branding, not the dairy content. Country Life also has a history of serious mishaps. In 2008, a nationwide recall exposed pieces of plastic in spreadable tubs. Broken machinery was the source of the contamination, serving as a lesson that even well-known products can malfunction when procedures aren't perfect. Even if the problem was resolved, it brought to light how readily customers might be put at risk by industrial shortcuts, even in well-known items. Ownership adds another layer of complexity. Since 2019, Country Life has been part of Saputo, a Canadian multinational. The patriotic imagery remains prominent, but profits now leave the UK. The brand continues to trade on emotional loyalty while functioning as part of a global corporate system. What makes this line one of the worst for UK customers isn't just the formula or past recalls, it's how well the packaging and story mask the reality. The green fields and flags create an illusion of authenticity that the ingredients don't support. People buy more than butter. They buy trust, nostalgia, and national pride, even as the real product has been altered and the profits exported overseas. For shoppers, the lesson is clear. Visual cues and emotional marketing can carry more influence than ingredient lists or quality. When half the tub is oil and the rest is water, no slogan about tradition or Britishness can make it true. Country Life's spreadable butter isn't just food, it's a masterclass in emotional marketing, where the flag does more work than the dairy inside. Contamination, fake ingredients, false patriotism. But imported premium butter should be safer, right? Not when the wrapper itself poisons your food. Kerrygold built its name on simplicity, grass-fed cows, lush Irish pastures, a brand positioned as the cleanest expression of grass-fed Irish butter. For years that image held strong. Kerrygold wasn't just butter, it was a premium experience. People trusted it without questioning what surrounded the product. Then, in 2023, something troubling came to light. PFAS chemicals showed up in the foil wrappers. They are persistent industrial chemicals that accumulate over time. Research connects them to fertility trouble, messed up hormones, and certain cancers. The scary part? These chemicals can migrate from the wrapper into the butter itself. The very packaging meant to protect the product was introducing risk. Some US states temporarily banned Kerrygold until the company could switch to safer materials. Kerrygold changed the wrappers and brushed off concerns. Too late. The trust was already broken. People had bought this butter believing in purity, only to find out that danger was literally wrapped around it. The spreadable version of Kerrygold has its own issues. It's not pure butter. Part of it is rapeseed oil, blended in to make it softer and easier to spread. The deep yellow color that shoppers associate with rich Irish cream, that's partly maintained through added coloring, not just from the cows themselves. What you see isn't entirely what you get. This whole situation is a lesson in modern food production. Quality doesn't stop at the ingredients inside. The packaging, the storage materials, the processing methods, all of it matters. A brand can boast about premium dairy, but if the wrapper carries hidden chemicals, the purity claim falls apart. Kerrygold spreadable still tastes good, but the bigger story shows that natural labels only go so far. True care requires attention to every single detail, including the materials protecting the food. Without that, even a trusted icon can fail. Toxic packaging is bad enough, But this last brand tried bottling butter like ketchup. It failed. What do they sell now? Still not worth it. Anchor built its name on grass-fed New Zealand dairy and the promise of simple, honest butter. The brand carried that reputation across the globe, with shoppers trusting the name as a mark of quality and authenticity. The UK spreadable line tells a different story. In the UK spreadable version, roughly half the product isn't butter at all. The rest is mostly rapeseed oil, added to make the spread easier to use straight from the fridge. Flavor and dairy character was sacrificed to make the product softer and cheaper to handle. The result is a product that spreads easily, but lacks the richness and aroma of traditional butter. Anchor attempted to increase convenience in 2019 by releasing a squeezy butter version. This product was practically margarine in a bottle because it contained about 67% oil. The public reacted quickly. Online mockery of the concept caused the product to discreetly vanish, damaging the brand's reputation. Blind taste tests confirm the trend. Many describe the spreadable version as greasy, bland, and lacking any authentic butter notes. There is a gap between expectations and actual prices because the price remains near premium levels. Shoppers are paying for the name, not the experience. The problem goes beyond taste. Anchor's UK product leverages its New Zealand heritage to suggest authenticity, even though the formulation is engineered for cost efficiency and shelf stability. Although the product's primary value has shifted from natural quality to industrial convenience, the brand's identity remains intact. The story of Anchor serves as a warning against trust. When business decisions put convenience and profit ahead of real ingredients, even a brand founded on pastoral heritage and purity can suffer. Convenience, packaging, and marketing can all mask a product's true nature. A spreadable tub that isn't quite what it claims to be. The name stayed the same, but the product changed. Trust the label with caution, because what you see isn't always what you get. Butter used to be one of the simplest foods you could buy. Cream, churned, salted, done. Now it's become a minefield. Contamination, chemical leaching, mislabeling, ingredients swapped out without warning, premium prices attached to products that are barely dairy anymore. Blind trust in brands doesn't work anymore. The solution isn't complicated though. Buy butter with fewer ingredients. Check the labels. Support local producers when you can. Take control of what ends up on your table. If you found this helpful, subscribe and turn on notifications. Don't let the brands decide what's healthy for you. Make that choice yourself.